You're watching Talk with Audrey. An omnibus survey conducted by Common Ground Alliance earlier this year found that 49% of homeowners who planned to dig this year did not intend to contact 811 to have underground utility lines marked beforehand. Well, did you know that striking a single utility line can cause injury, repair costs, inconvenient outages, and fines? Well, if you didn't know, you know now. Susan Magruder Lyle is the president and CEO of Common Ground Alliance, and she joins me now with some information about the importance of contacting 811 before digging. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for joining me. Tell us more about Common Ground Alliance.
The Common Ground Alliance is a nonprofit association dedicated to protecting underground utilities that deliver critical services to us that we rely on every day, and protecting those who live and work near them.
And I think that most people would be surprised at what's underground. So why should homeowners or contractors have their utility lines marked before digging underground?
And you make an excellent point. When you walk across the street, you are more than likely walking across a lot of different utilities that you depend on every day. Internet, power, gas, water, sewer, and making sure that we keep those intact and connected in the communities is really important. So before you begin a digging project, you should contact 811 a few days prior to digging to make sure that all of those utilities in your dig site can be marked so you know where to dig with care.
When you call 811 and they come out to mark the lines, is there a cost for that service?
It is a free service. And so, again, another reason to call. It's a free service. It just takes, a few minutes to call and talk to your local 811 center about where you're going to dig, and they will ask you some questions and ensure that they know where your dig site is, and make sure that those that have utilities there come out and mark them.
Okay, and if you don't call 811, what are some of the dangers of damaging the utility line?
It can be something as inconvenient as cutting off internet to your home, or something as catastrophic as hitting a gas line, igniting a fire, and causing serious injury, or in even some cases fatalities.
Ah, and your neighbor's pretty upset with you, or worse, someone could get hurt.
That's right. Nobody wants to be responsible for cutting off the internet on Super Bowl day.
There you go. That's right.
But in all seriousness, it can also be very serious. It can lead to, shutting down businesses, damaging infrastructure, and so we want to make sure that we're keeping our community safe.
Right. So when you call 811, will they tell you who needs to come out to mark those utility lines? And will they also tell you how deep you can dig or that you shouldn't dig? And what other information will you get from utility providers?
So what they will do is they will contact those that do have assets in the area. And if you want to if you want more details on how the process works in your state, you should visit 811beforeyoudig.com. And you can learn all about the digging process, and also go to your specific state and learn about the laws and requirements there. Each of those lines on the ground is a different color and is representative of a different utility, and so you want to make sure that you're respecting those. Depth is always a little tricky. Sometimes, erosion, weather, floods, water, other construction can cause utilities to shift underground, and so that's why we want to make sure that we contact 811 every time we dig, even if you've contacted 811 because you dug in the same place prior to.
All right, so it's like, hey, you never know. You'd just rather be safe than sorry.
It is not worth the risk.
Well, even if you're putting in a sprinkler system or a swimming pool or whatever, you just don't know what's there. So sounds to me like calling 811 is really important. Sarah, if there's a problem, who ends up paying for the damage?
Well, it depends. It could be you. And if you damage something that is very costly, it can be very costly. There can also be fines. Some states actually do have penalties for digging and not calling. So we want to make sure that we call every time, because those repair costs can be significant depending on what you've damaged. there are nearly annually, the societal cost for damages in this country is about $30 billion. So we need to think about that before we put a shovel in the ground and really make sure that we're thinking about the financial cost, but more importantly, the cost that it could have on our families and our communities.
Absolutely. Wow, that's important. $30 billion in damages? That's a lot of mistakes that didn't have to happen. Sarah Magruder Lyle, President and CEO of Common Ground Alliance, has been my guest. We've been talking about the importance of contacting 811 before digging underground, and of course the dangers of striking a utility line and the potential cost of those damages. Sarah, thanks so much for joining me.
Great. Thanks so much. Have a great day.